Hello and welcome to Stories for Sleepless Nights. My name is Luna, and I am here to share stories that will gently guide you towards peaceful sleep. This is a special place where we explore fascinating tales from history, delve into ancient mythology, discover the wonders of nature, journey through inspiring biographies, and ponder deep philosophy. Each story is crafted to help you relax, quiet your mind, and drift into a restful night. If you have a story idea or a topic you would love to hear about, please share it in the comments. We always enjoy hearing from you. And if you have not already, please consider following us on Spotify and YouTube to make sure you do not miss any of our upcoming journeys. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the extraordinary life of a true giant of human history, Leonardo da Vinci. His name brings to mind masterpieces of art and incredible inventions, but his story is far richer and more complex than many realize. Before we begin, let us take a moment to settle in. Find a comfortable position, whether you are lying down or sitting up. Gently close your eyes or simply soften your gaze if you prefer. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, feeling your chest and belly rise. Hold it for a moment, then slowly release the breath through your mouth, letting go of any tension you might be holding. Let us do that one more time. Breathe in deeply, filling yourself with calm, and breathe out slowly, letting all worries drift away. Feel your body becoming heavy, sinking gently into your bed or chair. Allow your mind to quiet, ready to listen as we begin our story. Our journey into the life of Leonardo da Vinci begins in a small, quiet village nestled in the rolling hills of Tuscany, Italy. He was born in 1452 in a place called Vinci. His father, Sir Piero, was a well-known notary, a kind of legal official. His mother, Caterina, was a peasant woman. Because his parents were not married, Leonardo was considered an illegitimate child. As a very young boy, Leonardo did not live with both his parents. He was raised mainly by his father's family, including his grandparents and an uncle, in the countryside near Vinci. This upbringing outside the formal city life shaped him in a special way. He did not have much formal schooling, especially not the classical education that taught Latin and Greek. Instead, he spent his childhood outdoors, observing the world around him with intense curiosity. He would spend hours watching birds fly, noting how their wings moved through the air. He studied the way water flowed in streams, the shapes of different plants, and the movements of animals. He was always looking closely, trying to understand how things worked. Even at a young age, he showed an incredible natural talent for drawing. He would sketch everything he saw, capturing details with an amazing eye for accuracy. When Leonardo was around 14 years old, in about 1466, his father recognized his son's artistic gift. He arranged for Leonardo to become an apprentice in the bustling city of Florence. He joined the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio, a famous artist of the time. Verrocchio's workshop was not just a painting studio. It was a vibrant center where many different crafts were practiced. Young artists learned painting, but also sculpture, goldsmithing, bronze casting, and even how to make musical instruments. It was a place where art and engineering came together. In this busy workshop, Leonardo learned many practical skills. He learned how to prepare wood panels for painting, how to mix pigments to create colors, and how to use various tools for carving and sculpting. He watched the masters at work and practiced diligently, constantly improving his drawing and technical abilities. One famous story from this time tells of a painting called The Baptism of Christ, which Verrocchio was working on. Leonardo, still a young apprentice, was asked to paint one of the angels in the scene. The story goes that Leonardo's angel was so beautifully painted, so full of life and grace, that it completely outshone the work of his master. It is said that Verrocchio was so amazed by his student's talent that he put down his own brush and never painted again, realizing he had been surpassed. Florence itself was a truly vibrant city during this period, known as the Renaissance. It was a hub of art, culture, and new ideas. Wealthy families, like the powerful Medici, supported artists and thinkers, making the city a place where creativity flourished. This energetic environment was the perfect place for a young, curious mind like Leonardo's to grow and develop his extraordinary talents. After his time in Verrocchio's workshop, Leonardo began to take on his own independent projects in Florence. These early works already showed his unique genius and his way of seeing the world. one of his important early paintings was the Annunciation. This painting shows the angel Gabriel telling Mary that she will give birth to Jesus. Leonardo painted with a new softness, making the figures look gentle and real. He used a technique that created a hazy, soft look, making the edges of things blend smoothly. This made the painting feel almost dreamlike. The light in the painting falls gently, creating shadows that add depth and make the figures seem to breathe. He also started work on the Adoration of the Magi, a large painting that was never finished. Even though it is incomplete, we can see his innovative ideas. The painting shows a bustling crowd gathered around Mary and the baby Jesus. Leonardo filled the scene with movement and emotion. He drew many figures, horses, and architectural elements, all swirling around the central figures. He was trying to show the many different reactions of people to this important event. This painting, even in its unfinished state, reveals his careful planning and his deep understanding of human feelings. Around 1482, when Leonardo was about 30 years old, he made a big decision. He decided to leave Florence and move to Milan. Milan was a powerful city ruled by Ludovico Sforza, who was known as the Duke of Milan. Leonardo wrote a letter to the Duke, listing all the amazing things he could do. He offered his skills not just as an artist, but also as a military engineer, an architect, and even someone who could organize grand festivals. The Duke of Milan hired Leonardo, and his time there was very busy. He took on many different roles, just as he had promised. As a military engineer, he designed new weapons like armored vehicles and giant crossbows. He drew plans for fortresses and bridges that could be quickly put together or taken apart. As an architect, he advised on building projects and city planning. And for the Duke's lavish court, he designed elaborate costumes, stage sets, and mechanical devices for grand parties and parades. He truly was a man of many talents, but it was in Milan that Leonardo created one of his most famous artworks, The Last Supper. This massive painting is found on a wall in the dining hall of a monastery called Santa Maria del Grazie. It shows Jesus and his 12 disciples sitting at a long table during their last meal together. Leonardo captured the exact moment when Jesus tells his disciples that one of them will betray him. The way Leonardo arranged the figures was revolutionary. He grouped the disciples in sets of 3, showing their different reactions to Jesus' words. Some look shocked, some confused, some sad, and some angry. He focused on showing their individual personalities and emotions, making the scene incredibly dramatic and human. This was a new way to paint religious stories, focusing on the deep feelings of the people. However, Leonardo used an experimental painting method for the Last Supper. Instead of painting on wet plaster, which is the traditional fresco technique and dries quickly, he used a mix of oil and tempera paints on a dry wall. This allowed him to work slowly and make changes, giving him more control over the details and colors. But this method was not meant for walls. Over time, the paint began to flake and peel off, causing the painting to slowly deteriorate. People tried to fix it many times over the centuries, but its fragile state has always been a challenge. While in Milan, Leonardo also worked for many years on another enormous project, a colossal equestrian monument. This was a giant statue of a horse and rider, meant to honor Francesco Sforza, Ludovico's father. Leonardo spent a lot of time studying horses, drawing their anatomy and movements. He made many sketches and models, dreaming of creating the largest bronze horse statue in the world, standing about 24 feet tall. He even built a huge clay model of the horse, which weighed many tons. But the project was never finished. The bronze metal needed to cast the statue was eventually used to make cannons to defend Milan from invading armies. Later, when the French invaded Milan, they used Leonardo's magnificent clay model of the horse for target practice, destroying it completely. It was a great loss of a truly grand vision. While Leonardo worked on grand paintings and massive sculptures, facing both artistic challenges and the destruction of his dreams, another, equally important part of his genius was kept hidden. This was stored in his many notebooks. These notebooks were like secret worlds, filled with thousands of pages of his thoughts, sketches, and detailed observations. They were a treasure chest of his scientific questions and his artistic ideas, all mixed together. Leonardo had a very unique way of writing in these notebooks. He used what is called mirror script. This meant he wrote all his words from right to left, so they looked backward. To read his notes easily, you would need to hold them up to a mirror. Some people believe he did this to keep his ideas secret, so only those who knew his trick could understand them. Others think it was simply easier for him, as he was left-handed, and writing this way prevented him from smudging the ink as he wrote across the page. His notebooks showed his deep love for engineering. He designed all sorts of machines, many of them far ahead of his time. For war, he drew plans for armored vehicles. Imagine a large, dome-shaped machine covered in thick plates with cannons poking out from all sides. People inside would turn cranks to make its wheels move, allowing it to roll across the battlefield like an early tank. He also designed multi-barreled guns, which could shoot many times very quickly, and complicated catapults. But his mind also created machines for peaceful uses. He dreamed of flying. He spent hours watching birds, studying how their wings moved through the air. From these observations, he designed flying machines like the ornithopter. This machine had huge, flapping wings, much like a bird or a bat. A person would lie inside and use pedals and levers to power the wings, hoping to lift into the sky. He even designed an early parachute, showing a person falling safely to the ground under a pyramid-shaped canvas. He drew plans for diving suits too, complete with a helmet and air tubes, so people could explore under the water. Many of these inventions would not be built for hundreds of years, but his ideas laid the groundwork. Leonardo also had a profound interest in the human body. He wanted to understand how it worked from the inside out. He started to study human anatomy in great detail. This meant he performed many dissections, often in secret, on human bodies. This was not a common practice, and it was even frowned upon by society at the time. He carefully cut into the skin, muscles, and organs, observing every tiny part. He would then draw what he saw with incredible precision. His anatomical drawings showed bones, muscles, tendons, and blood vessels in ways no one had ever drawn them before. They were far more detailed and accurate than any studies that came before him. He connected these anatomical studies directly to his art. By understanding how muscles pulled and bones moved, he could paint human figures that looked more real, and lifelike. He knew exactly how the body shifted during different actions and emotions. This deep scientific knowledge allowed him to create artworks where every figure seemed to breathe and move, giving them an unmatched sense of life and realism. After years of deep scientific study, which brought unparalleled realism to his artistic figures, Leonardo's life took another turn. In the year 1500, he found himself back in Florence. He returned because Ludovico Sforza, his patron in Milan, had lost power. This meant Leonardo no longer had a steady income or a place to work. So he packed up his belongings and made his way back to the city where his artistic journey had first begun. This period in Florence would become one of the most famous times in his life. It was during these years that he started work on his most well-known painting, the Mona Lisa. For many, this painting is the face of art itself. The painting shows a woman sitting, looking out at the viewer. Her hands are gently folded in front of her. What makes the Mona Lisa so special is not just the woman, but how Leonardo painted her. He used a new technique called sfumato. This Italian word means soft or smoky. With sfumato, Leonardo blended colors and tones so smoothly that there were no harsh lines. Edges seemed to disappear into shadow, creating a soft, misty effect. This made the figures seem more alive, and the light more natural. The most famous part of the painting is the woman's smile. It is often called enigmatic, meaning mysterious or puzzling. As you look at it, the smile seems to change. Sometimes it looks like she is smiling, and other times it seems to fade away. This shifting expression is partly due to the sfumato technique, which makes the corners of her mouth and eyes seem to move and change with your gaze. People have argued for centuries about what her smile truly means. The woman in the painting is widely believed to be Lisa Gherardini. She was the wife of a rich Florentine merchant named Francesco del Giocondo. The painting is sometimes called La Gioconda, after her husband's name. The Mona Lisa has a fascinating history. It was stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris in 1911. The theft caused a huge sensation around the world. For 2 years, people searched for it. Finally, it was found in Italy, hidden by an Italian worker who believed the painting belonged in its home country. This event along with its artistic brilliance, helped make the Mona Lisa a global icon. Today, millions of people visit the Louvre each year just to catch a glimpse of her famous smile. During his time back in Florence, Leonardo also worked on other big projects. He received a monumental commission to paint a huge mural for the Palazzo Vecchio, the city's town hall. This was to be a scene from the Battle of Anghiari, a famous Florentine victory. He worked on this painting in a large hall, creating a dynamic scene of horses and riders fighting in a fierce struggle. He tried another experimental painting method for this mural, much like he had with the Last Supper. Unfortunately, this new method did not work well. The paint began to run and peel off the wall, and the magnificent work was eventually lost. Only copies and sketches by other artists remain to show us what it might have looked like. This period also saw a rivalry develop between Leonardo and another great artist of the time, Michelangelo. They were both in Florence, working on public projects. Their artistic styles were very different. Leonardo favored soft lines, blended colors, and a sense of calm mystery. Michelangelo, on the other hand, preferred strong, clear lines, powerful muscles, and dramatic, heroic figures. Their contrasting visions of art showed the wide range of creative genius in Renaissance Florence. After his time in Florence, which brought both the glory of the Mona Lisa and the disappointment of the lost Battle of Anghiari mural, Leonardo moved on. In the year 1513, he packed his bags once more and made his way to the grand city of Rome. He was nearly 60 years old, but his mind was as sharp and curious as ever. In Rome, Leonardo found a new patron in Giuliano de' Medici. Giuliano was the brother of Pope Leo X, a powerful leader of the Church. Leonardo was given rooms in the Vatican's Belvedere Palace, a place of great beauty and learning. During his years in Rome, Leonardo did not produce many new artworks. This period was less about creating masterpieces and more about his deep scientific and philosophical studies. He spent his days investigating the world around him with intense focus. He continued his work in many fields. He delved into geology, studying the layers of rock and earth, seeking to understand the history of the planet. He was very interested in optics, the science of how light works and how we see. He designed and worked on special magnifying lenses, hoping to see small details more clearly. He also explored hydraulics, which is the study of how water moves and can be used to power machines. His notebooks filled with drawings of canals and water-lifting devices. He also filled pages with complex mathematical problems and geometric shapes, always trying to uncover the hidden rules that govern the universe. His studies of light and shadow were particularly important. He observed how light struck objects and how shadows fell, changing their appearance. These careful observations, though scientific, still informed his understanding of painting. He learned how to create a sense of depth and reality on a flat surface by mastering these effects. Leonardo's deepest wish was not just to draw what he saw. He wanted to understand the core principles of everything. He did not just want to copy the surface of the world. He wanted to uncover its inner workings, the way things truly functioned. People in Rome saw him as a brilliant, but sometimes unusual man. He spent many hours working in his studio, examining the muscles and bones of animals to understand their structure. He often walked through the city, sometimes stopping to sketch a bird in flight or a person's interesting face. He was known for his complete dedication to watching and learning. He always carried a small notebook, ready to write down an idea, draw a sketch, or ask a question. He would often spend a long time just watching a stream flow or a plant grow, trying to unlock the secrets of nature. His mind was always active, always questioning, and always experimenting. He was a man driven by a never-ending curiosity about everything around him. Leonardo spent his later years in Rome deeply absorbed in scientific inquiry. Yet, even as his focus shifted, the artworks he created still stood as a testament to his genius. His paintings changed the art world forever, and they continue to hold a special place in our hearts today. Let us look again at two of his most famous works, The Last Supper and Mona Lisa. These paintings did more than just show a scene or a person. They spoke to people in a new way. The Last Supper, painted on a wall in a monastery in Milan, showed Jesus and his 12 disciples at a table. Leonardo captured the very moment Jesus, announced that one of them would betray him. The faces of the disciples show shock, anger, and confusion. Each man reacts in a different, believable way. This was revolutionary. Artists before him often showed groups of people in a stiff, lined-up way. Leonardo made them interact, creating a powerful, emotional story within the painting. This work influenced countless artists for hundreds of years, teaching them how to show deep feelings and tell a story with a brush. However, Leonardo's experimental nature, which drove his scientific discoveries, also presented challenges for his art. For the Last Supper, he did not use the traditional fresco method, which involved painting on wet plaster. Instead, he used a mix of oil and tempera paints on a dry wall. This allowed him to work slowly and make changes, like painting on a canvas. But this choice meant the paint did not stick well to the wall. Over time, the painting started to flake and fade, needing many repairs and restorations. Then there is the Mona Lisa, perhaps the most famous painting in the world. People come from all over to see her mysterious smile. Leonardo used a special technique called sfumato for this portrait. Sfumato means soft or blurry, like smoke. He blended colors and tones so smoothly that there were no harsh lines. This made the edges of her face and her smile appear soft and hazy. It is hard to tell exactly where the shadow begins or ends, giving her face a lifelike, almost moving quality. This technique made her smile seem to change as you looked at it. Another important technique Leonardo mastered was chiaroscuro. This involves using strong contrasts between light and dark. He would often have bright light falling on one part of a figure and deep shadows on another. This made the figures look solid and real, giving them a three-dimensional feel, as if they could step right out of the canvas. Both sfumato and chiaroscuro gave his paintings a level of realism and emotional depth that was unseen before. Beyond these two grand works, other paintings show his genius just as clearly. Consider The Lady with an Ermine, a portrait of Cecilia Gallerani, a young woman in Milan. She holds a small white weasel called an ermine. Leonardo captured not only her beauty, but also the alert, twisting movement of the animal. The ermine turns its head, its eyes bright, showing Leonardo's keen observation of both human and animal life. The way the light falls on her face and the ermine's fur is truly stunning. Another significant work is St. John the Baptist. In this painting, John points upwards with one hand, his face lit by a soft, mysterious light. His enigmatic smile and gesture invite the viewer to wonder about the meaning behind the image. This painting also shows his mastery of sfumato, creating a soft, dreamlike quality. Leonardo's art was a wonderful blend of science and human understanding. He studied the human body, knowing every bone and muscle. He observed light and shadow, understanding how they played on surfaces. He watched how people behaved and what their faces showed. All this scientific observation fed into his art, allowing him to paint figures that were not just beautiful, but also deeply human and full of life. His paintings continue to captivate us, not just for their beauty, but for the profound insight they offer into the human spirit and the natural world. Leonardo's art was deeply rooted in his scientific observations. This same sharp eye and curious mind also led him to imagine and design machines that were far beyond his time. He was not just a painter or a sculptor. He was a true engineer, a visionary who saw possibilities others could not even dream of. His notebooks, which we talked about earlier, are filled with these incredible engineering ideas. He drew designs for all sorts of machines, from those meant for war to those for everyday life. Many of these inventions would not be built for hundreds of years. One fascinating design was for a self-propelled cart. Imagine a cart that could move on its own, without horses or people pushing it. Leonardo drew plans for a three-wheeled cart. It worked using a system of springs and gears. You would wind it up, and then it would move forward on its own, traveling a set distance before stopping. This was like an early robot or a car that did not need an engine. He also designed special bridges. These were not just any bridges. He thought about how to make bridges quickly for military purposes. He drew designs for bridges that could be put together and taken apart in a hurry. Some could even swing into place or roll across a river. One design showed a bridge that could rotate. This allowed boats to pass through without needing to be lifted or lowered. Leonardo also studied water in great detail. he designed intricate hydraulic systems. These were systems that used the power of moving water. He drew plans for canals, for locks to control water levels, and for machines that could use water pressure to lift heavy loads. He even thought about large-scale projects like draining marshlands or changing the path of the Arno River near Florence. His understanding of water flow was incredibly advanced. However, many of these brilliant ideas could not be built during his lifetime. There were several practical reasons for this. First, the materials he needed simply did not exist. His designs often called for strong, lightweight metals or parts that could withstand great pressure, which were not available in the 1400s and 1500s. Second, he lacked powerful energy sources. His machines often relied on human muscle power, springs, or simple counterweights. These could only do so much. The powerful engines we have today, like steam engines or electric motors, were centuries away from being invented. Third, the precision manufacturing needed to create his complex gears and mechanisms was not yet possible. To build something like a flying machine, you need very exact, finely made parts. The tools and techniques for such precise metalworking would not be developed until much later. Despite these limitations, Leonardo's studies laid important groundwork for future inventions. His years spent observing how birds flew, for instance, directly influenced his designs for flying machines. He drew countless sketches of bird wings, muscles, and how they moved through the air. His ideas for an ornithopter, a machine with flapping wings, were a direct result of these studies. This work contributed to the understanding of aerodynamics, the science of how things move through the air, which is crucial for modern flight. Similarly, his incredibly detailed anatomical drawings were not just for his art. They were scientific models of how the human body worked. He studied every bone, muscle, and joint to understand movement. This is very much like what biomechanics studies today, looking at the mechanics of living things. For Leonardo, art, science, and engineering were never separate. He saw them as interconnected paths to understanding the world. His artistic observation helped him notice details for his scientific studies. His scientific understanding made his art more realistic and his inventions more practical. He believed that all knowledge was linked, and he pursued it with an insatiable curiosity, always seeking to understand the underlying principles of everything he observed. Leonardo saw the world not in separate pieces, but as one great, connected puzzle. Art, science, and engineering were not different subjects for him. They were all ways to understand the truth of nature and the universe. This idea that a person could master many different fields is what we call a Renaissance man. And Leonardo da Vinci, more than anyone else, showed what it meant to be such a genius. He painted masterpieces like the Mona Lisa, but he also designed flying machines. He sculpted beautiful figures, yet he also mapped the human body with incredible accuracy. He studied plants and rocks, and he also made music and planned grand festivals. For Leonardo, all knowledge was a single, vast landscape to explore. His way of seeking knowledge was also very special. He did not simply read old books and accept what they said. Instead, he believed in experience and observation above all else. He would look closely at everything around him, touch it, measure it, and experiment with it. He trusted his own eyes and his own hands more than ancient writings. He was a pioneer in what we now call the scientific method, always testing his ideas against the real world. He wanted to know how things truly worked, not just how people thought they worked. His famous notebooks are the best proof of this amazing, interdisciplinary mind. These books are not just full of sketches of machines or anatomical drawings. They contain everything from a shopping list for groceries to deep thoughts about how the stars move. You might find a recipe for paint on one page and a design for a parachute on the next. There are jokes, fables, and detailed studies of the flow of water. These notebooks show us a mind that was always awake, always questioning, and always connecting ideas from different areas. They are a window into his restless, brilliant spirit. Leonardo's impact stretched far beyond his art. He was a key figure in the Renaissance, not just for his paintings, but as a trailblazer for scientific thinking. Even though many of his scientific findings were hidden in his notebooks for centuries, his systematic way of observing and recording facts helped lay the groundwork for future scientists. He challenged old ways of thinking and showed the power of direct observation and careful study. Centuries later, Leonardo da Vinci continues to capture our imaginations. Why does he still fascinate us so much? Perhaps it is his boundless curiosity, a desire to understand everything, from the smallest insect to the vastness of the cosmos. It is his genius for both creating beauty and for breaking down complex problems with a sharp, analytical mind. He stands as a symbol of human potential, showing us what is possible when art, science, and a relentless thirst for knowledge come together. He also showed a remarkable compassion for living things. Leonardo was a vegetarian, which was very unusual for his time. He chose not to eat meat, showing a deep respect for animals. He was known to buy caged birds in the market just to set them free, watching them fly away into the sky. This small detail tells us even more about the depth of his character and his thoughtful approach to all life. We have journeyed through the incredible life of Leonardo da Vinci, a man who saw the world with endless curiosity and shaped it with his genius. Now, as our story comes to a close for tonight, it is time for you to find your own rest. Allow your body to settle comfortably, feeling its weight where it lies. Gently bring your attention to your feet. Notice any sensations there, perhaps a slight tingling or the warmth of the covers. Just observe without trying to change anything. Now, let that awareness slowly travel up your legs, past your ankles, your calves, and your knees. Feel your muscles begin to relax. Let your focus move to your thighs, and then to your hips. Feel the heaviness of your lower body sinking deeper into your bed. Move your attention to your belly, noticing the gentle rise and fall with each breath. Let any tension in this area soften and release. Next, bring your awareness to your chest. Feel your heart beating softly, steadily. Allow your shoulders to drop, releasing any strain they might hold. Let your attention flow down your arms, through your elbows to your forearms, and into your hands. Feel your fingers grow soft and still. Finally, bring your awareness to your neck and your head. Gently relax your jaw, your cheeks, and your forehead. Let all the tiny muscles around your eyes become completely still. Feel the weight of your head resting peacefully. Allow your entire body to become heavy, calm, and deeply relaxed. I hope this journey into Leonardo's world has been a pleasant escape for you tonight. I hope it has helped you quiet your mind and find a peaceful path towards sleep. You can find stories for sleepless nights on Spotify and YouTube. If you have any ideas for future stories, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We always love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me. I am Luna, and I hope to join you again very soon for another story. Until then, I wish you a very good night.